Welcome, everyone. So, as you know, today we're changing it up. We're doing cafe talk, which means anything goes. We're at Loretta's Cafe in Bristol, PA. And my guest here is my dear friend, and not only a dear friend, he's our family attorney, Louis Busico, one of the best in Philadelphia.
Thank you.
Or shall I say, yes, Montgomery County, Bucks County. I know he's the best because he kept my sons out of prison.
And here's proof.
Here's proof. My next is my oldest son, Toby. So thanks, guys, for coming in the cafe, and we get into some really deep conversations.
Pleasure to be here today.
Thank you.
So this first episode today of Cafe Talk, what I'd like to talk about is, in my opinion, is the elephant in the room. And what that is, it's these mafia informants / rats that have come out and have made negative comments about my mother. My mother has been doing a lot of positive things and has truly changed her life around. But yet I see a lot of these other people that I'm going to speak about that I don't believe they changed their life around. And hopefully one day they do. And but three people that I want to talk about today are going to be, and I'm going to keep it brief on a couple of them. I heard comments made by Michael Franzese, Sammy the Bull Gravano, and some punk kid named Gene Borrello. I'm going to keep it quick on Sammy. I'm going to start with him first, simply because, and I don't even know if this was a full video or if it was cut by Lee Cole, and it's not even the truth, but there were some comments that were made that maybe she knew Gotti, or maybe she didn't know Gotti, or maybe he knew her. She did know, number one. Number two, she was involved heavily with people in organized crime throughout that era. Number three, I do know Sammy is familiar with her and knows who she is, because many years back, I was standing right next to my mother when Sammy got on the phone with her with a call from prison. I'm going to leave it at that on the Sammy thing, but do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I just think that, talking about any of it, I mean, even, the only thing that I said, and I addressed Michael, is that a church man doesn't act like him. So are you a thug or are you not? I don't know what you are.
So in terms of Michael Franzese now, and that's a good point in terms of being a church man, in terms of being a Christian. I can tell you, we are people that try to live the right life, try to live a good life. My mother is someone who has literally changed her life around to try and be a better Christian and a better person. And coming from a life and a family of crime, corruption, organized crime, she has literally tried to do something positive, if you've seen on YouTube. And I've been a firsthand witness of the life from a young age to my mother's life and what she's doing now. And I can tell you, my mother is someone that actually helps people, that has changed her life around, that does try to do the right thing on a daily basis, that does go to church on a weekly basis and tries to legitimately live that life. When it comes to now Michael Franzese, the question is, has this man truly changed his life? Is he a real Christian? And I hope he is. I pray to God he is, and I pray to God that he changed his life around. But I have an issue. And my issue is, I feel he came across to my mother very disrespectful in a video after she did the Get Gotti documentary.
Well, let me say this, Toby. I've been around more than a little bit, and I've known your mom, and I've had the pleasure of meeting your entire family over the last many years. And in every sense of the word, your mother's the real deal. And by that I mean I have never even assumed or caught her in anything that hasn't been 1,000,000% truthful. When she discusses events back in Brooklyn, back in the day, you can take those stories to the bank. When she tells you that she's changed her life and is dedicated to God and is dedicated to her family and her grandchildren, you can take that to the bank. There's nothing that is not 100% legitimate about your mother. And unfortunately, and I mean this in a complimentary way, because she's a she and she's now entering a world that's dominated by testosterone and masculinity, I think a lot of people out there who are thin-skinned, and now they're showing you how thin their skin really is, they're taking cheap shots at her because they think she's an easy mark because she's a woman.
Cheap shots, that's what they
Well,
are.
guess what? That's your first mistake of the day, is thinking she's weak. Your
Not
second
happening.
mistake will be to test her. So I recommend you don't do that.
It's not happening, and thank you. You know me many, many years. And I think that, I still have a lot of friends that, I grew up with, that didn't cooperate and that's still on the streets. And they feel that, who are they asking my credibility? Other people that informed? Regular street guys ain't gonna come on because they don't do that. Real tough guys don't do that, and they don't talk down to women. I've always said John Gotti, I don't care what he was in the streets, but when I was at his table or there were other women at the table, he'd say, wait, guys, there's a lady sitting here. Jesus knows. That's it. That's what he would say. So when you have these guys coming on and trying to degrade women, it's not going to go well with me because I'm going to stick up for myself. I've always stuck up for myself. And, I ran in the streets with some of the biggest, toughest guys, and nobody's backing me down.
And that's the truth, because I've witnessed it, I've seen it, but now I'm seeing these YouTube mafia rats, basically, making comments, making statements when they're asked about my mother, when they don't know her. They're from, different families, different levels of association, and some of these guys are high-profile individuals. I mean, Sammy the Bull was what he was. He was legitimate on the streets. There's no question. There's no doubt about that. Michael Franzese, was a captain that is supposedly now changed his life, dances around the question of whether or not he's a rat. To some level, it's irrelevant, but to other levels, it is relevant simply because you're out here claiming to have changed your life around, but yet you're associating with some really in-depth, high-profile murderers, extortionists, thieves. I mean, we're talking about some of the worst criminals on the planet. He's now doing YouTube videos with. And selling his wine.
And Toby, many times, whether you're talking about politics, business, the business of crime, what's the old phrase? Follow the money, right?
Follow the money.
Now,
That's what he's
follow
doing.
the money. Now, Netflix, billion-dollar corporation, okay? They own TV for the most part in the 21st century, right? Do you think that they would spend the time, the resources, the money, the manpower to create the Get Gotti series, put your mother on that show,
Exactly.
and not vet her a million ways to Sunday? You don't think she was checked out? You don't think they have her DNA, her fingerprints, where she was born, the first boy she kissed? They know all of that and more, and they're not going to bankroll a show with a fraud.
Yeah.
60 Minutes did that, and that's one of the most reputable news teams back in 2004 when I was on 60 Minutes. You're going to question 60 Minutes?
But
they go back to the lawyers. They go back to Bruce Cutler. They go back to
It was
the
all public record back then. You can't fake that.
But they want to. But get back to you, Toby. I want to say this about money. Money, I'm in church every Sunday. I never miss. If I'm really sick, I can't go to church. But I'm there. I'm very part of my church. It's very important to me, my religion as a Catholic.
Did you pray for me this week?
I pray for everybody.
All
Some prayers, we'll send them out your way.
Yeah, but money is the root to all evil, okay? So for me, I'm not going to lower my standards to get in bed and dance with the devil for money. I'm not going to do that. I'm just never going to do that. So that's where I questioned, Michael.
Here's the thing. Instead of certain people and certain individuals saying, I really didn't know her, I wasn't associated with her, they made negative comments. I don't like how she was referenced. I want to now go to the third guy. This kid, Gene Borrello. I mean, this guy says some outrageous stuff, and this is what prompted me to want to come on today and say I have to now make some comments in terms of these individuals, because I've heard this go on now for months with different people saying different things, and I know a lot of people in this genre watch these guys. So this particular individual, it's actually unbelievable and outrageous with some of the stuff he says. he made comments about my mother. He has no idea who my mother is. He made comments about my mother's ex, Frankie Lino, who I can't even imagine how this guy could comment because he was shitting the bed, literally, pissing his pants. Back in the day when my mother was around these people.
Was he even born?
The reason why I say he was shitting the bed is I don't even know if he was in diapers yet, literally. But yet, he's making comments about my mother. Like, keep your mouth shut. Really. Keep your mouth shut. This kid here, and I want to touch on this guy a little bit more because we're talking about a real degenerate. We're talking about an individual that abuses women, is involved with drugs or has been involved with drugs. Supposedly now he's into mentoring children.
Oh, come on. Who's going to use him
That's
to
the
mentor
most
kids?
ironic thing that I find. He now apparently
Who's going to use him?
I heard something with anti-bullying, but yet if you watch this guy's podcast, it's about breaking people's heads, specifically batting people, shooting people, stabbing.
Toby, no company that I'm working with to mentor kids. Like, you know, I've done speaking engagements to kids.
An individual with this background
You're going to have them in front of a forum with kids?
Openly and boldly speaks about it. Do you see any reputable company, any reputable person anywhere on planet Earth that's done a little bit of research on this guy?
No one's going to
put him in front of children.
No one's going to hitch your wagon to that star. It'll be an unmitigated disaster. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, but he also says he's going to beat up Joey Merlino, a boss.
Yeah, he's
alleged.
He's going to come to Philadelphia and beat up the alleged mob boss.
I can't say for sure, but I have a very strong feeling Joey's not losing too much sleep over
No.
I don't think so.
No. They're not losing sleep over this. But you know what, Toby? I don't want to go in the mud with them. They're in the mud. I want to keep my platform positive and light. I feel actually bad for Gene Borrello. I do, as a mom. I do. Because, yes, I have 3 sons. I raised my sons. As you know, you defended them. They're tough. They could defend themselves, but they're gentlemen. They are gentlemen. Yes, sir. No, sir. Help somebody. You don't go talk like that about a woman, somebody's mom.
I agree 100%. Gene Borrello is the type of guy I'd like to crack him right in his mouth. For what he said about my mother, number 1. Number 2, I mean, this guy, again, like I said, you know, abusing women, threatening his girlfriend's father, constantly talking about hurting people and batting people. It's absolutely insane. I mean, this guy really needs to be humbled. He needs a beating, in my opinion. And I say that in a manner of not to go around beating people up. How long would this guy last on the streets in New York? Because you and I had this conversation, and I know you don't like bad-mouthing anybody, and you're not going to bad-mouth this kid.
I'm not going to bad-mouth
But the reality of it is that I'm asking you, the time back in the day when you were on the streets, would they ever make him a May guy?
They wouldn't even have him around. He's too much of a big mouth. One thing I did learn from John Gotti, and I've taught it to you guys, never let anybody know what you're thinking. Because when you let somebody know what you're thinking, they already have an advantage on you.
You're very vulnerable.
Okay? He lets everybody know what he's thinking. But you think that back in the day they're going to have this guy around?
But he is a guy that was a street guy that was around people.
Yeah, what did he do? Smash and grab? He didn't have the brains to go out and form his own business. He's robbing other people. He's robbing from other street people. You know, if you had any brains, you'd form your own.
Speaking of which, there's one crazy story that he tells. And I'm not going to mention the guy's name. But he claims to have, and maybe it's true, I really don't know. But the irony of how crazy this story sounds to me is he robbed a mob boss at gunpoint
20 years ago.
Or attempted to rob him. The wife comes out with a shotgun. I'm not going to mention this guy's name or his wife's name.
No.
He comes out with a shotgun. And, the wife comes out with a shotgun. And Gene Borrello throws shots. Okay, a heavily connected individual.
Heavily connected. Back 20 years ago.
I don't know if he was a boss back then. I believe he was.
He was well respected,
and they didn't kill him.
and he was 20 years old.
I'm not sure how.
But here's
That's-
the thing, that story. He was going to rob him and pull the suitcase. But then he said, from pulling the suitcase, he pulled out his gun and was shooting. So how are you pulling a suitcase from that individual and then pulling back and shooting a gun?
Let me ask
It
you a
doesn't make
question.
sense.
Right.
Do you ever walk into a Barnes and Noble?
Yes.
Half the joint's dedicated to fiction, right?
I love it,
That's all it
Lou.
is.
It's fiction because they do this for views.
Well, they do it for views. They view it because right now you're at the top of the mountain. Right
100%,
now,
and they're jealous.
you're a target, and the way to get attention is let me take a shot at Andrea Giovino. Let me see how tough she is. Let me see if she hits back.
Well, here's
Don't make. I'm telling you right now, everybody, do not mistake weakness for kindness, or kindness for weakness. Either way.
But here's the thing, too. I think that I'm in a genre. There's nobody else there but me. Lou.
Right.
No one. There's no other women doing this but me. So these guys don't like it.
Where's she going? I thought you might be looking for Borrello. I don't know.
These guys do not like it.
It's obvious.
They don't like that and you gotta remember, back in the day, in the era, say, of John Gotti and, Johnny Caniglia and Paulie Castellano, and we'll throw Michael Franzese, a lot of them had this mindset, and that's where I think it comes from. The women are in the back. Like, keep, your place, get in the kitchen, go cook. They have no place. That wasn't me.
But you are a good cook.
I am a good cook, but that was never me. But they seem to think, no, she tells lies. Okay, great, whatever. So, I think that's it. I don't want to give them my whole.
No, you ended up on Netflix. A lot of people saw it, and then you have a lot of people now commenting on it. And again, why I wanted to come out today, and I've made a conscious choice not to come out and do these types of interviews or put myself in and around this, because I am a legitimate businessman at the end of the day. But when I see this stuff going on and people making false statements or negative comments, I have to address it.
Well, you have to, because if you don't, then people believe that these statements are the truth.
Mhm.
So they have to be refuted.
Right.
Just to set the record straight, they have to
Absolutely.
be refuted.
Absolutely. My
Yes.
mother's doing something positive. She's going to continue to do something positive if you watch the podcast, and that's how this is going to continue to go.
I have a lot of big things in the making. I'm not going to put it out there now. If they're jealous, they're going to get even more jealous when everything else comes about. But thank you guys. Anything else you want to say, Lou?
No, just happy to be here and continued success.
Great.
God bless. Best to everybody watching.
Thank you, Jesus. I always say if it wasn't for the Lord, I wouldn't have this platform. I thank all my subscribers. I continue to thank them, continue to subscribe. Please leave comments. I try to get back to everyone, and thank you.